day 44. Day 44 of my 90-day juice cleanse. Tomorrow's the halfway point. And something that this great awareness has come through, and something that I am so passionate about in my work is really trusting and surrendering in our body wisdom in order for optimal health, and to know that actually any physical ailment, anything physical that we are experiencing is fixable. It is healable. Nothing is not figure outable. And so anything that we have been experiencing ailments wise, fatigue, exhaustion, physical issues, and we can get in these places of owning it. It's like it becomes our identity. The ailment becomes our identity. And when we're in that place, actually it's more scary to let it go and to choose something different, because that requires that we go beyond the comfortable, because even though it's uncomfortable, right, living with a physical ailment, there's also a sense of comfort in it because it allows us to do things that feel really good to us. It allows us to say no to people. It allows us to sleep when we want to sleep. It's almost like an excuse for rest, an excuse for us to communicate the way that we actually truly want to communicate, an excuse for us to actually choose what it is that we truly desire rather than people please the whole time, an excuse for us to project and express our emotions when we're so used to feeling like, maybe we aren't allowed to express anger. So when we have this physical ailment or this sickness, then it's okay for me to feel sad. It's okay for me to express my anger. It gives all of these things permission. So therefore it becomes an identity and it becomes comfortable. And the beautiful thing about that I'm so passionate about and that drives me so deeply is helping people to know that it's actually not the truth. The reason why we're in that place is to show us that we're not living our truth. We're not living even close to our soul. In fact, we're greatly, greatly steering off course. And if we are courageous and willing enough to, first and foremost, admit that to ourselves and choose something different, choose to dive into it, then what comes about is the outcome that we truly want, which is, feeling the way that we truly want to feel. But oftentimes there is this fear around actually having the outcome of that feeling, because it's almost like we don't feel like we're worthy of it, or there's all of these emotional injuries in the way. And so a great passion of mine that I'm so passionate about and that I'm here for in this life is something that I know that I'm here for, is to support others in trusting and surrendering into the wisdom of their body and how that can lead them to optimal health, optimal vitality, optimal thriving. And when we're not living in that place, then everyone around us is also suffering, because they're also picking up on the transmissions of that experience that we're experiencing. They're also picking up on the limitations that we live in ourselves, and that's where they're choosing to live as well. And this requires, greatly shaking up the medical system. And I don't mean working against the medical system, but I mean an integrative approach of what other things that we can be including that are actually truly nourishing and truly healing, that would actually support profoundly not only the patients in the medical system, but also our whole health, our health as a whole. We wouldn't be paying as much tax. We wouldn't be feeling as helpless as we feel when it comes to our health. We would have a greater attunement to our body, because if we're experiencing physical symptoms, then our relationship and our connection and our attunement to our body and what it's actually communicating to us is severed and distorted in a way, and requiring our attention and awareness and hearing and listening. And this has been something that I experienced profoundly with my ankle when I broke my ankle in 3 places and healed it and was back in shoes in 3 weeks. I was running in 17 days and walking after 6 days. This is a very acute timeline, and not one that is common. However, I was under pressure. But when it comes to our body knows, our soul knows, and all we have to do is trust and surrender to the wisdom of our body and where it's actually guiding us and leading us, because it always knows. It truly always knows. And that's been something that I've also noticed with this fruit juice cleanse, is that I knew that I needed something. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I needed a clear out of some sort. And whilst there's still more that's unraveling, gosh, the amount of profound shifts that have occurred just over these past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, has been phenomenal. So, and just trusting in whatever my body has been bringing to me. And I remember, I'm just remembering how, when I had my broken ankle, I got the cast off, and this was like 3 days after getting the cast off, I got a boot on, and I immediately went down to the salt water and I rinsed my broken foot that was still bruised and still battered and still broken in the salt water. I stood in the ocean with my crutches, and oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how invigorating and enlivening and thrilling. It's like I felt this pulse of life just come back into my body, back into my foot, back into my leg in a way that I didn't even know I needed. And this is the potential. This is the subtle realms this is what's possible. This is the space of possibility that is available if we choose to trust and surrender into the wisdom of our body and where it's actually guiding us. And oftentimes it guides us towards trauma. So what it requires is that we clear out our emotional wounds, because this is the other piece, is that everything that we experience physically is just a manifestation of what we're experiencing emotionally, and mentally, but primarily emotionally at the soul level. So it's like, what emotional wounds are we carrying that need clearing out? What is it that we're carrying that needs clearing out in order for us to live in the energy that is, there is an energetic state that is high. It is high vibing. It is innocent. It is free. It is loving. It is clear. It is clear. And that's when our body responds in that way as well. Our body lives from that space of clarity, of cleanliness, of fullness, of truth, of purity, and concentration of who we actually truly are. And that's the place that we all really truly desire to be in. And that's a place where everything gets healed. And it's so profound. So to just add on that, my day today has been noticing, the more I clear myself out. Obviously this, I'm on coconut water. I think this is day 6 of coconut water. I started counting and then I just lost track of counting because I don't really care for counting. It's more about how I feel. But what I noticed is I've had water and coconut water today, and you know, because of all the purifying I've been doing, I'm so much more sensitive to my environment. I'm so much more sensitive to actually what's occurring around me. I can feel the texture of energy, the density or the lightness, the purity of energy around me and where it's coming from. You know, if it's coming from someone's head, if someone's up in the head, or if it's coming from their base, you know, if they're really hungry for life. This is the other thing as well, is when we haven't cleared a lot of our emotional wounds, then a lot of the stuff that's stuck in there is dense. And that density is a result of us not feeding ourselves in life truly and fully in the way that our heart really desires to. And so oftentimes what that then results in is overeating, our cravings, our hunger, and thinking that that's normal, but it's not. We don't actually need a huge amount of food to function on, to live on, and you know, to just be, because essentially as we eat, our body has to process that energy as well, you know. And so not that I'm saying not eating, don't eat. I'm absolutely not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, why are we reaching for the food? And oftentimes we can tell what this is by how we feel after it. If we don't feel satisfied, then it's usually we've eaten an emotional wound. We're not actually hungry. We're hungry for life. And hungry for life is like we're hungry for the truth. And that truth is like the truth of who we are. We're hungry for love. So that's been my day today. Profoundly sensitive, nourished, clear, full, just sensational. Yeah. Oh. And I just want to share another piece on this because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm covered. I had about 4 to 4.5 hours of sleep last night. And I woke up this morning, went down to the beach. I felt this energy moving inside of me. I didn't know what it wanted. I thought it needed the beach. And I got to the beach and it wanted to express out of me. It wanted execution. So I went for a run. And oh my gosh, it felt so good. And meanwhile, I'm day 6 on coconut water, you know, and I'm still running. And it's so great. Granted, I'm not running fast, you know, I think my pace is about 9. So I'm not running fast. However, I'm running and I'm not puffed afterwards. I'm not exhausted afterwards. I'm not fatigued afterwards. I'm like profoundly satisfied. There's this deep sense of satisfaction in the execution that comes from the run. And then afterwards, I can feel more space in my body, which then when I move my body in an embodied way, like movement in the way that I do, I can feel myself land then more fully inside those pockets. So anything is possible. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. It's only our limitation of our emotional wounding and our thought patterns that are actually creating it to be impossible. Do we want it? If we want it, then how do we choose, or can we choose is more so the point. Can we be brave enough to choose for it to be possible and let us meet everything along the way that is in the way, that is blocking us from that place? That's my little download for day 44. All right.